Cool.
Right.
So James, let's get it started. If you like to get everything kicked off here, and then I can share some things too as well. But certainly like to get this started, and certainly glad that Pastor is able to join us here today too as well.
Yeah, I think the most important thing was to make sure that connect you with Pastor Blake, and we want to try to think in terms of um, you coming to South Bend, meeting with the mayor, but you had mentioned maybe doing some preliminary work prior to that, and I think that's a great idea. My big concern, um, I'm just a facilitator. Um, Transformation Park and all of the vision associated with that and Project Impact is Pastor Blake's baby. So
Okay.
I just try to follow instructions and try to be as helpful as I possibly can. So the most
Okay.
important thing that'll happen here is the two of you connecting and being of like mind in terms of how we can move forward in this community.
Okay, well then that sounds good. So Pastor, as James mentioned, I talked to Nate earlier, and I shared with him that I would be more than willing to come over to South Bend. It's just a skip and a hop from me, so I would be able to come over there. What I was trying to do more so though initially was I was trying to align the schedules, which I know was going to be somewhat difficult with the owner of the company of McKissack and McKissack as well. Now,
Sure.
she does from time to time come into Chicago, but most of the time when she comes here, it's already coordinated efforts and meetings set up here in Chicago. And she doesn't tend to go outside of that particular area. But I was trying to align that so that maybe, hey, we jump in the car and we ride over or something of that nature. But in this particular case, I think just as good. Some of the preliminaries that he just talked about, I wanted to set up a Teams meeting or a Zoom meeting with her so that she would be able to get an opportunity to meet with you as well. And then at the same time, I was going to bring on board our Chief Growth Officer.
Okay.
And the reason for that was so that she has other avenues and streams of how to secure funding and financing and things of that nature for projects, via the federal government, because that's the arena that she came out of. So that's the kind of thing that I wanted to, kind of start doing a little dialogue and a little conversations with. Now, of course, you guys are sitting right in the cradle, of our secretary, who's from that area, and certainly I'm sure that is going to be bringing several dollars, just like he is across the country, in the way of infrastructure. So if there's ways that we can facilitate through some of those funds and grants and stuff, certainly we would kind of align ourselves with that too as well.
When you said our secretary, who are we talking about?
Buttigieg. Is it
Oh,
Buttigieg?
oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Who the judge?
Yeah, Buttigieg. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry.
No,
I should have said fully. I should have said Secretary of Transportation, and then
Yeah.
we would have gotten who I was
Okay.
talking about.
Well, I wanted to know because it sounded like he had some money. And, to make
Well,
sure.
we hope that he has money, and then money is coming in all in that area too as well. So we're certainly trying to capture that here in Chicago, within certain communities here that have been blighted type communities and stuff, and communities that need a little stimulus, so to speak. So and I would assume and imagine across the northern part of Indiana, as well as South Bend and Gary and other places like that, it's the same effort too as well there.
Yeah, without a doubt, this is exactly the same. I mean, it's not as, I don't know, South Bend is getting so that it's got kind of a reputation like Chicago when it comes to the inner city and the hood.
Yeah.
We're small and we shouldn't have that much violence, but we let it get away. And that was one of the things that Project Impact was initially positioned to do, was to work with ex-offenders and work with the inner city to try to get some transformation. And we had a good mayor and director for the inner city with the city at one time. Jeff Gibney, and he hung around in Chicago more than he did South Bend.
Mm-hmm.
But they kind of messed our program up. But I think if they'd allowed us with Project Impact to actually do what we wanted to do and continue to fund it, they cut off the funds at the second year. That made it so it was almost impossible for us to really get the
Mm-hmm.
that we really wanted to do. But we hope to re-implement that again at some point. But my thing was looking at I figure that we have about 8 ends in mind here. And so
Okay.
one of the things when you talk about beginning with the end in mind, James and I discussed this a little bit yesterday, was to make sure that we were all looking at the different ends, like, well, all of us have an end in mind as far as God is concerned.
Yes, absolutely.
That's the ultimate. That's the number one end in mind. But then I was thinking we had McKissack's and you are. I'm saying it's the same thing. That your end in mind and McKissack's end in mind is the same thing. And then of course we got the mayor's end in mind. Whatever his ultimate agenda or end in mind is, whatever his goal or his objective. And then we got Project Impact end in mind. We got the churches in. We got James, Nate, and mine. All of those things.
Right.
And so I can get way off the track and try to and so James wanted to try to push me into not going too far and bringing in too many issues all at the same time. I have a tendency to push everything toward my end in mind.
All right.
But I know that don't work. That we've got to take into consideration all of the things, but I am looking for the type of whatever type of vehicle that we can use to make the connection with Project Impact.
Okay.
Just give a little bit of background on myself. I've been in South Bend all my life, except for the time that I actually left and went to the Air Force for 4 years.
Okay.
I the Air Force in 1970, and then I worked for IBM, the IBM Corporation, which was really, they were the big boys all over at that time.
Yes.
In 1970, my wife and I both worked there for about 3 years. And then I left IBM actually because of ministry and also to start my own company. Well, I didn't really plan to start my own company, but I did Bethel Business Machines, which was doing same things that I was a customer engineer at IBM, servicing equipment and that sort of stuff. And so that's what Bethel Business Machines did. And I still have that company, but it's kind of a partnership that I work with a big company called we call it, it's an MBE, that's Talented Tent Steel. And it's working with a large steel company here, Steel Warehouse. Now, I know nothing about steel, but I make a little bit of money by partnering with them and on the minority side of it. And then in 2006, we started Project Impact, the church as a ministry within the church. It's 501c3 though, and that's really connected with the community involvement in Project Impact, and then within Project Impact, trying to make the distinction in both the spiritual and the community relationships, and trying to change people's lives. We know that just we can talk about God, but you can't eat God, and you can't sleep him, and you got to work. You got to have a job. And so reaching into the community, and that's the economic aspect of things is where we began to bring into the ministry through Project Impact, and with that in mind. We've taken Project Impact and tried to combine a number of things, and we started a company. We had our own little architectural firm called Bethel Design. Bethel Design was a small company, and I had a partner that was an architect, Javier Aguilar, but he passed away about 3 years ago. He had cancer and he passed, and that kind of ended the Bethel Design. even though we had a little bit of construction company and Bethel Design. Um, that ended, and then we, with our Bethel business machines, we had a recycling because of all the changes and stuff. We did some, and we still have a little bit of computer service and that sort of stuff through Bethel business machines. But now our primary focus is on the project impact, and we still have a small construction company, Masters Construction, that we just started a year and a half ago with one of the young guys that was actually in our program in Project Impact. And he's out of Indianapolis. He just moved back to South Bend a few months ago. And we got it all set up through, everything through the SBA and through Indianapolis and the certifications with the state and the city and all that sort of stuff. But it's just off the boards. He's a glazer. He's got 14 or 17 years of experience as a union glazer. And he started with called caulking, S&H caulking, and he had that 2 years ago, but he didn't go too good for him. And so I just kind of partnered with him. So that's a little bit of what we've got going here. And so then we come back to whether the meeting with the mayor, what our objective would be, and what your objective would be, and how we would do that approach. We haven't really decided exactly how we want to approach the mayor in whatever meeting. And so we needed you to, kind of help us make that decision.
Okay, so I did write down a few questions that I had and that I wanted to ask the group and the team here today. So now I'm certain that that South Bend, the city of South Bend, has began to look at an economic development plan for that particular area. How do they impact the community? How do they impact the area? How do they bring additional revenues and income back into that particular city? And with that could be potentially developments and things of that nature. So I wanted to find out, first of all and foremost, have the mayor been talking along those lines? I'm sure they have been. And if so, how do we see Project Impact being the catalyst in order to make sure that equal share, so to speak, is being handed out, in that particular area? So that's the first and the main question that I have, for the group and for the team here, which I'm sure you guys can elaborate on that a little bit for me.
James, maybe you might want to talk a little bit about that, because we had a meeting recently with the mayor, and it was focused on basically small business and business contests that we're putting on. But your question is one that's right on the mark, and I think that we are just beginning to really get that dialogue started. So James, if you want to.
Well, yeah, one of the key things is back in 2017, there was a study done by Pete Buttigieg when he was mayor here, and it was called the Racial Wealth Divide in South Bend. And basically, and in all honesty, I think Pete thought that South Bend had just been identified as one of the best cities in the country to start a business if you were 40 or under 40 or something like that. So I think he was expecting that he was going to get some kind of glowing report. But instead, the report basically said that if you're not a white male, your opportunity to be able to get access to income, access to capital, and create wealth was significantly less than your white male counterpart.
Absolutely.
My joke all the time is like, I don't know how much they paid them people, but they could have given me that check and I'd have told them that, right?
Absolutely.
So that was the impetus for starting what Project Impact now has is the Business Development Center. Because Mayor Pete's office called me. I was heading up SCORE at the time, local chapter. And they basically said that one of the best ways to be able to create wealth was through business. Will you help us develop some Black businesses or businesses in the community? The study said that it was bad if you weren't a white male, but it was especially bad if you were Black. And it basically said that it made South Bend per capita one of the worst cities for economic growth in the Black community. So they were freaking out. So that was when we got involved, and that's when we launched the Business Development Center. SCORE only had 30, we had 30 mentors here that worked for me. and I was the only African American. So I came to Pastor Blake and said, will you help us identify some Black businesses in the community? Can we talk to them? The answer was yes. We talked to them. The standard approach, no matter how they phrase it, is always comes out to be, you poor Black people, how do we fix your brokenness? Well, we turn around and we basically said, this study says all these things are stacked against you, but somehow or another you have a good business. What's the secret sauce? How do we create more? They told us they needed better access to resources, better access to information, better access to capital, better access to opportunities. They needed a place where they could meet and talk about business and work together. And it needed to be open when they needed it to be open, not when they were working trying to make money. And it needed to be in their community, not on some campus. So that's exactly what we created with the Business Development Center. At the same time, the city was doing a disparity study, talking about why is it that, minorities, particularly Black, get fewer bids and things from the city and those sorts of things. And the numbers basically showed that, they actually showed that statistically, we were like at 0% of everything that got created, right? The number was so small, it was insignificant. They manipulated the numbers a little bit, and I think they boosted it up to about 3%, okay? How they did that, I don't know. But the most interesting thing to me is that when they had a recent assessment of how it has improved, it has not improved, it's even gotten a little bit worse. So I believe the mayor's office should feel under a lot of pressure that they are failing to turn around and work with minority businesses. At the same time, when we started the center, the city thought that there might be maybe about 10 Black businesses. By the time we opened the doors, we already had 70 businesses signed up. And we've got a little under 400 of them as members of our center now. So their problem is that they don't know how to find them, right? Or they don't have a process that makes sense. So what we've basically done is we've created a pipeline that we've designed a pipeline that identifies the businesses that are out there. We identify what their strengths are. We try to match them up with opportunities, and we provide a process for them to be able to develop and grow. And the last meeting we had with the mayor's office was, we know how to do this. We'll work with you and use our process on behalf of the city in order to be able to move it forward. So that's where my brain is in terms of that's exactly what we could be doing. And with a partnership and a collaboration with McKissack and McKissack, oh my God. I mean, now all of a sudden we've got absolute total clout and or capabilities, and we could collaborate and work together to design something that was extraordinarily effective, and at the same time make the mayor look like he's accomplished what no one before him has been able to accomplish, and actually move the number of minority businesses, particularly in the African American community, because I wanted to start there first, because that's where the numbers said they were worse. Create a solution where the problem is worse, and it can be leveraged across everybody.
Right.
But then we'd be able to move forward effectively, and he'd look like a hero.
Right. So James, let me ask this question then to the team too. Then, is there enough opportunities coming out of the mayor's office or out of the state within that space, in order to be viable enough to support 400 members? And of course, everybody is not going to rise to the top, because you're going to have some that do not have everything together, but then you'll have those that do get to the top. But is there enough there to feed them? Is there enough there to say, hey, we are making a difference, based upon the amount of jobs and opportunity that's coming out of the city itself, out of the state itself, that type of thing. The only reason that, Pastor Hardy, the only reason that I mentioned Buttigieg was because of the mere fact that, okay, then South Bend, you got the highways, you got the rail systems and things of that nature. That's infrastructure built, which means that there's a lot of dollars that's going to be flowing. And how do you put yourself and line yourself in the best position to capture some of that? Yeah, now certainly a group such as ours, which now has the national notoriety, yeah, we could come in and say, okay, then we want to bid on it, but we don't want to just come in and just say we want to bid on it for the sake of, okay, then we MBE, we WBE, we DBE. We want to be able to bring others too as well to the table. And I'm trying to just figure out the best way to bridge that. How do we do that? If there's enough there, and of course there will be enough if things happen the way that they are going to happen with respect to the infrastructure, that's a start there. Now, that doesn't mean everybody will eat off of that same piece, but there's enough spin-off of that will create a great number of different opportunities for a different number of minority businesses. And it behooves us, if we allow certain big projects like that to come into the community and we don't put a demand on them to utilize local resources, then that's, shame on us if we don't position ourselves to be there to do that. That is what, and I must say, as you guys begin to start looking at the LinkedIn or the website of McKissack and McKissack, you'll see that Daryl McKissack is actually at the White House talking to them on a regular basis in terms of exactly what you was talking about. How do you, when this funds and these monies come out, how do we assure equal and fairness, across the board? And that is the goal. That is what she's doing now. On a larger plan, Pastor, what she has also done, what she has created this other company, so to speak, and who sits on this board of these other companies is all of these large conglomerates, your Turners, your Claycos, your Clark Constructions, these big boys.
Gotcha.
So that whenever they move into a particular area or come into a particular area, listen, they have to, and they have all committed that they have to take a big portion and say, okay, then we need to make sure that everybody and the fairness of everybody is part of this deal. That is what's happening right now. But we have to know and we have to figure out exactly what's on the plan. Yeah, we've had the meetings with the mayor, but there's got to be some larger items that's on the agenda that's coming up that we need to be privy to so that we can position ourselves in order to do that. I have no problem with being a bridge and a gap and a representative to say, okay, then we are part of Project Impact, and we want to see Project Impact improve in terms of those numbers that James just rolled out to us. So yes, that is where we need to be at this point, Pastor.
Okay.
Well, I was good. Well, go ahead, Pastor Blake. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, it's okay.
Oh.
What I was going to say was, okay, both what James is saying and Gerald, South Bend has got a population of like 107,000.
Right.
And it's got about 27,000 African Americans, probably 15,000 Hispanics, or, maybe, you don't never know what the exact count for the Hispanic population is. It's maybe more than 20, maybe bigger than ours.
Right.
But our capacity, especially when you talk about the construction, if you take the capacity in businesses in South Bend for the African Americans, our capacity is minimal. Would you agree with that, James? And when we take all of the small business, the Black businesses that are together. So, but there is, a lot of work that's coming, the city isn't really talking much about any of the big projects. You got the housing authority that's got a project that may be 20, 30, $50 million, the South Bend housing, because they're tearing down a lot of houses. And then we've got with one of the, a couple of the small parks in the African American community, you may be talking about $5 million on one, 10 or 15 million on another one, that are projects that are there. And then out of um, they've got monies that they've been talking about, $60 million or something from the federal government off of the COVID and all of the things that was coming in, but they haven't really determined how exactly they're going to use that.
Right.
And we have not been, even though we have some African Americans that were in his administration, in the current Mueller administration, I'm just personally, my thinking is that there's not much vision of the African Americans and that are even focusing on participating in the economics at all. It's all social stuff, and it's it's all the community, but we've never had an African American economic development plan in South Bend, and I was on a redevelopment commission for 6 years. And that's how we ended up getting some money even for Project Impact after I got off of the development committee. But at that time, I always was talking about the fact that the United States of America has an economic development plan. Every state has an economic development plan. Every city has an economic development plan. But the African Americans within the city of South Bend, I said, we don't have one. And I would say that to our council and to other ministers and that sort of stuff, but nobody would actually try to come together in a way to develop an economic development plan within the African American community.
But I think we have to give them one.
That's right.
I think we actually have to give them one. And I think one of the biggest problems that I've seen constantly is that we get shoved to the side because we don't have the major player who can act as a general contractor for a major project.
That's right.
And because of that, we wind up we keep trying to move some of our smaller developing businesses into opportunities to be able to do some things, but then they lack the capacity, the capability to be able to actually deliver.
Sure.
What I would love to see us do is to be able to partner with you and be able to bring the 500-pound or 5,000-pound gorilla to be able to, we have the capacity to do anything, and we have the commitment to turn around and help develop and grow these smaller businesses so that they can become self-dependent, independent, capable to be able to take on larger and larger projects. That's the way people get paid. That's the way we can make sure that our people are getting paid. And that's the way that we can stop being excluded and only having to be satisfied with the scraps off the table.
Understood. Let me ask James, you and Pastor this, if it would be okay. I mean, I would love to come over. And if you guys have the capability and the time, spend a couple of hours or so, maybe 3, ride around a little bit, kind of like get the lay of the land, so to speak, and begin to start, James, in defense of what you're saying, to begin to start symbolizing and putting together a economic plan for the African American and the communities around it. That is probably a good point and a good place to start. Certainly, there are developers out there that would be very interested in coming into the area, because I guarantee you, if I overlaid the opportunity zone map over that particular part of Indiana, I guarantee you a large portion of it has been deemed and classified as a opportunity zone, which means that they will put dollars in there to any developer that comes in there to develop and create new businesses for that particular area. Now, that being said, you also have to have, like Pastor was saying, you mentioned it to the committee, you mentioned it to the board. You got to have forward-thinking folk that's in the municipalities that's going to be able to say, yes, we agree, let's go out, let's do this, let's do that. I believe that we can do that. We can put together that type of plan. We just got to have the wherewithal and the people behind us that's already part of the government there in order to give you that green light and that pathway to do it, because that's what it's going to take. But we need to identify a few things And I think that that is a good place for us to start. I would love to begin this process, take the time out, come and let's just spend a little time, a half a day, and let's just do this. Let's really kind of like, let's see where we can go with this. And then I believe, because of my connectivity to the development world, so to speak, I believe I'm able to bring people to the table to talk with us, to partner with us, to say, okay, then yes, this is a viable opportunity. I really do believe that we can do that.
And I think that you come into the community with myself and James and a number of other people that are already in the administration, right, Blacks as well as the mayor. I think that it's a perfect time to do that, because we have the community collateral and relationships
yes.
We can that with your capacity and your developmental skills and history and experience, I think that could make this thing actually work. It's a workable thing, and that it's open. The mayor is open for change. People in the community are open for change too. I mean, you got a few people that may struggle, but as a whole, with relationships besides the administration and the city, we've got some with a couple of banks and credit unions and some of the other organizations that we've got enough, community collateral that we could help, bring this thing.
So let me now, hold on one second. I got my other question, which was, I wanted to know what part does the University of Notre Dame play? Now, they are, to me, I think that they are one of the biggest entities there, of course.
Yep.
But what part do they play in terms of the community that they dwell into as well? I mean, are they totally separate, or are they trying to play a separate role, or do they want to get their hands a little dirty and be part of this face that we're getting ready to present?
At one time, Notre Dame was definitely separate.
Okay.
About 10 years ago, Notre Dame decided that when they had their 100th year anniversary, they decided that they wanted to be here another 100 years.
Okay.
And I sat in a meeting where there was, it was Father Joyce then, it's Father Jenkins now, but I sat in one of their meetings, and they were talking about that they were going to spend, in their relationship with Notre Dame and the community in South Bend, and the relationship that they knew that they wanted to have, about $10 billion over a 10-year period of time, in building their own community and our community and connecting them together somehow. But most of that money they spend in their community.
Yeah,
of course.
do we have any inroads to somebody there, that one of the chancellors or somebody there to talk to? Now, yes. Think about the powerfulness behind that. If you got, and I'm gonna use this, and if we ever got before them, yeah, I would use a perfect example, a prime example, as the University of Chicago. University of Chicago, in a particular area, but it's surrounded by all blighted communities. Mm-hmm. Now, that was many years ago. All of those blighted communities and now that are surrounded that area, they have all prospered now, because the University of Chicago decided that, hey, let's give a little stimulus. Let's be part of the community, not just here. Let's be part of it. So they began to purchasing, buying, developing the whole 9 yards and utilizing those particular areas. So now those areas it has come up. Now, in the terms of right on the outskirt of that, we're also doing, and one thing that I can say about President Obama, the one thing that he did was, instead of going way out into the rich communities and stuff, he said, okay, then, well, my legacy or the foundation or the campus that I'm proposing to do, I'm going to put it also in the community as well. Mm-hmm. Now your community is just thriving. The plans that they are having now in this, and mostly African-American communities now, is not just talking about today. They're talking about what's getting ready to happen 5 years from now, right? Because the plan and the foundation is being laid right now. But it started, though. It started with the university, surrounded by all of these blighted areas and communities, decided, okay, then, hey, it's worth us investing into the community because we are here. We got to be part of this. Out of all of that, trauma center, a full-blown medical center, the whole 9 yards now is there. It's part of that now. And that could be the same type of concept, you know, and it doesn't happen overnight, of course, but somebody has to be there to plant the seed, and then others come along and they water it and it grows. And then somebody, you know, begin to tilt through the land and do all of that and you know, get the bugs off the plants so that they can prosper and grow. That's what we got to begin to start.
Yes.
Your legacies and my legacies and Nate's and all of us that are here, we may not see the full fruition of it.
That's
but
right.
we would be remembered as the ones who began to plant the seed to get it to grow. I mean, that's a simple math. That's a simple thing that we can share with that particular venue, Notre Dame.
Yeah, now see, what you're saying there is exactly what needs to be done. Notre Dame is moving out, but they're not doing it the same way you're doing it in Chicago.
Yes.
They're basically gentrifying it.
Yes.
They're just moving and taking over territory and making it Notre Dame. But we have nobody, literally, I don't know of anybody that is saying what you just said to create the kind of collaboration that we need, so that we are planning with their plan and they're planning with our plan. Because we don't have a plan, see? We don't, and I tried to say that. I said that where there's no vision, people perish.
That is correct.
Write it down.
Keep
Don't
saying
just talk about it. You know, write the vision down, make it plain, you know, and then you give it. And so I've been writing a vision that I have, but I have no capacity.
Gotcha.
Well,
no resources to do anything with it. So you bringing this, you would not be stepping on anybody's toes by us bringing you into this. And because there's nobody with that type of real vision or capacity to actually implement it and to sit down at the table with the president over there. But there's a couple people that I do know that will. That's one of the provosts there that we can definitely sit down with, and he'll be glad to bring us in. He's been trying himself to figure out how do you do it, but he hasn't had anybody to really do it with. And then I may be a little too radical.
Nate, you get ready to say something, Nate?
yeah. I like what I'm hearing already, because Gerard, it seems like you've answered a question we were wondering about since I told him about you and McKissack. Is that, wouldn't that be something if they wanted to partner with us? You just pretty much told us point blank. The answer to that is we're going to partner with you. It sounds like you're saying you're going to be a part of Project Impact, and Pastor Blake and James Summers and we're going to be at the table with your blessing. That with what you bring to the table, to Pastor Blake's point, it's never happened before. I was talking to Pastor Blake last night. He was telling me about some of the things he's seen researching you guys. And so naturally, what did I do? I got on the site and did some more research as far as listening to what Daryl and what Cheryl said in some of their interviews, and mainly Daryl. And it was like looking and listening to Pastor Blake and James Summers. Every single thing that she said is what Project Impact is all about. And one of the things that I liked, I did look at that. As a matter of fact, I fell asleep looking at it. Is that company you talking about that she formed?
Yes.
AEC. I think it's AEC. Is that our agriculture, engineering, and construction?
That is correct. Architecture, engineering, and construction, right?
Architecture. Yeah, architecture, engineering. Yeah, that was
AEC.
AEC, and man, I was pleasantly surprised, because I had just talked to Pastor Blake, and I said, well, I'm gonna do what Pastor Blake did and look at some of these videos. And so I looked at them on your website, and I love the fact that the way Daryl is as a person is what I've been hearing and seeing from Pastor Blake and James Summers, the entire 6 years I've been involved with Project Impact. It's the exact same mentality and everything that we're trying to do here and in Gary. And I sat down and looked. I was really impressed by the fact that she would actually film and put on her website the meeting of her and all those construction people that were in attendance, and of course via Zoom.
Yeah.
She would actually film the entire event.
She did.
Myself, most people would have never done that. They would have never wanted you to know what they were doing, and especially in our communities, given the fact that we have so many people attacking us. But I'm sitting there and I'm listening to her and I'm watching this and I'm going, it was a stroke of genius, because isn't this funny? She literally has it on her website, but I can guarantee you most people that go to that website never take the time to click on it.
Well, that was why I mentioned it, Nate. That was why I brought it up first, that, you know, what she was doing, that was a collaboration, not just, I mean, that was her vision, of course. But
Yes.
then when she got the opportunity to talk to the Biden administration, and then she said, well, this is what I want to do. Now, remember, this is several months ago. He brought all of these big boys to the table. She being one of the only female Black at the table. And they opened up the meeting by giving her an opportunity to say, hey, well, what do you think, Daryl? And she just straight out said, well, you know what? I just don't think it's a lot of fairness around here. Why can't we form something, get together, bring everybody together? There is enough out there. You know, we're not intimidating you to the point where you cannot survive like you've been surviving, but you can. So she started that, and then they gave her the stamp of approval. Now they doing this in front of everybody. Now everybody's got to they got to say, okay, then, well, we gonna play or we not gonna play. And I guarantee you, the ones that was in that room, every last one of them committed right then and there that same day.
Well,
and they are still committing right now to this day to be part of it, because they know, listen, now, of course, guys, we got some problems ahead of us now.
Sure.
Meaning that, you know, this next election that's getting ready to come down the pipeline, and I guarantee you, man, if we lose both the House and the Senate, man, you know, it's gonna be a stalemate for a long period of time.
That's right.
So we got these obstacles now to go through. So that's why you see them trying to push as much as they can through there to get it into law, so that funds and things begin to be released, and we can still work on that.
Right.
While these other fools behind the scene is trying to stop everything else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's why she started publicizing it. And she made a conscious effort. I'm gonna put it out there. I'm gonna show now. And then she told them ahead of time, look, if you don't want it, because I'm gonna put it on blast, let me know now. But they are committed though. Now, granted, most of the ones that you saw, Pastor and Nate, that you guys saw in the video, we have done business with them in the past. They know the type of people we are. They know how she is. They know the way that she operates, you know, so they recognize that. Okay. And we have also been able to flip the script on some of them, and we go in as the major prime, and then we bring them in as our subs.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because they have the capacity in some areas that we don't have the capacity.
Exactly.
So that's the way, and that's how we begin to bring our other brothers and sisters and minority businesses up. Because when we come to the table, we're gonna come to the table not with just us only. We're gonna come to the table with the people with the deep pockets and the wherewithal too as well, that can be able to offer certain things to certain businesses. And here's the key. And I don't know if you heard this part of it, the mentorship that is being a commitment from these larger firms and companies to mentor the minority businesses so that you become self-sustaining. I think I did hear James say self-sustaining, you know, earlier, but that is one of the key factors of it. We don't want you to just come in and it's a one and done. Right. We want you to be able to come in and sustain. You know, so yeah.
That's right.
And that's and that's one of the things that I love too. And see, once again, that's why it's so important for you to come into town,
Yes.
sit down, because there's things that Project Impact has in place to address every single thing that was talked about in that meeting that's in place now. It's just that we're so small at the time, once again, capacity and all, that we can take advantage of our placement. And when we join the forces here, there's things that we bring to the table, and with you guys' backing, with what we have in place already, there's nothing they can do about it. They're going to have to come to us because your resume alone speaks volumes. But I was impressed, and I'll tell you, during that thing, I watched an hour and about 33 minutes of it, and I was so impressed by Daryl. Just, it's almost like she's part of the family. I mean,
Yeah.
she doesn't know, but she is Project Impact. And along and Gerard, you are too now, by the way. I just want to let you know. but I was really impressed with Peter from Turner, the executive. I was impressed with his conviction. He made comments that you can't fake.
Mm.
His thing was all this, they were trying to get the wording together as to what the theme of their organization would be. And they were messing around with the diversity, bringing in diversity and inclusion. And then I think Daryl said something about, it's got to be stronger than that. And so one of the things that I like that Peter said from Turner was, you know what, Daryl is right. So what? Because Daryl had said, so what? That you include us, you include Blacks, you include Hispanics, you include women. So what? If you're not going to pay us according, doesn't make a difference if the economics is not right. And Peter just was all into that. He was like, you're right. And I'll tell you something else. Our wording for this company should reflect that feel and that thought. It shouldn't just be inclusion just for the sake of inclusion. Include somebody and still lock them out of the money. He said, we got to talk about equity. Yeah. And he kept saying, I love what he said. He said, it's not just talk, it's behavior. He said, everybody that's going to be a part of this company, that we're forming, you have to have that type of behavior. Your behavior has to be such that, okay, when we get these deals, in other words, or these projects, it has to be in mind with the attitude in mind that we're going to be fair about how we're going to divide the money. We're not going to give most money to the white people, in other words, and we're going to just give the Blacks some. Oh yeah, we'll give them $1 million, a $50 million deal. Oh, we'll give you a couple million. You'll still be millionaires. No. If you're splitting the pie and I'm supposed to get 20 million, I want the 20 million or the 25 million that you get, depending on how it's structured. So I said, but I love his, and he kept on talking, he wouldn't let it go. And see, that's the thing, when I watch Daryl, I know what she's thinking already. I can tell you what she's thinking because I was watching her. And she was sitting back listening and watching to see what they would say. And she let it keep going because she wanted to see who would join in.
Yeah.
But the only person that really spoke up the most was Peter from Turner and that crazy guy, Mike Hellmuller.
Yeah.
He's kind of wild. He's kind of, I can tell she kind of likes him because every time he talks, she was laughing. So he must be a character. He must be a character. So he probably means well. He's just that he's kind of crazy, acting. So I can tell she likes him, but she loves the fact she allowed Peter to keep talking.
Yeah, and you know the dynamics of that, right? You know that's where she got her start from, right?
Peter?
No.
From Turner.
From what?
From the original Turner Construction.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Turner Construction.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where Peter worked. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's where Peter worked. But what I'm saying is that before Peter even came into the picture years ago, I'm saying that's where she started out at.
She worked for them.
Well,
Yeah.
She
Turner.
worked
Okay.
for them
okay.
as an engineer, project manager. She worked for them.
Yep.
Well, and I
That's
see
how
why.
she got her start. And
Mhm.
then Howard University snatched her up, though.
Right.
Stop for a second. Stop. Don't say another word.
That's right.
No, don't say another word for a second.
You missed
James
that one.
Summers.
You
What
didn't
did
see
I say, James?
you didn't
What
see
did
that
I
video.
say? What did I
HBCU.
say, James? Tell him, James.
Hey, this is just God at work.
Look, Gerard. I'm not going to talk about that right now. I'm going to wait till you and I are driving to South Bend.
Gotcha.
James, I had to stop you. James, what did I say? Did I say that? Didn't I say she had a connection with Howard?
Yep.
She is an alumni of Howard,
Oh, really?
and the majority of all of Howard's new construction and development, we have done it.
James Summers. I didn't know that.
You didn't see that video.
Yeah.
I didn't see that part of it.
No, there's another one. That's another video.
I
Okay.
told James last night that because of her proximity in Washington, James is laughing because he knows. I said, I guarantee you, she's got something to do with Howard. I said, I promise you, I don't know it yet, but I guarantee it only makes sense. She has the attitude. I promise you, she's got a.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
James,
that's right.
Okay. Let me jump in here just for a second. Gerard, the reason this is so funny is because just Friday, I was having a conversation with the CEO of Notre Dame Federal Credit Union.
Listen up, Gerard.
And Pastor Blake and I are on the board at Notre Dame Federal Credit Union. Tom called me and he said, you know, James, I just came back from I think it's NCOA conference, credit union conference. And he was approached and asked if Notre Dame Federal Credit Union wanted to partner in an effort to work with Howard University Credit Union to strengthen and build them up in a way that their capacity. And
Wow.
and Tom laughed. He said, James, you know the answer was yes, but I just got to run this past you.
Hey guys, give me 1 second. Let me answer this door real quick. Give me 1 second.
Go right ahead.
Okay.
James. James, I didn't know that.
God's at work.
Well, there's a video out there that where she talks about herself, and she said that she had worked for, I think she worked for Howard, for Turner for about 10 years.
I didn't know that.
And she was that's another one of those videos that she had that I had watched when she was talking about, and she made a comment also about, she said it's more difficult when in this business, she said in this business, it may be more difficult. For 10 years, when I first got into this, she said it was more difficult being a woman than it was being Black.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now I can imagine that.
Yeah, that was a statement that she made.
Pastor Blake, I didn't see that video. I didn't see the video about Turner or Howard, but I knew it because think about it for a second. Anybody that's that aware of themselves in history, and she's in D.C., where Howard is located. How could she not? How could she not have a relationship with Howard University?
Well, they still doing Howard. She still does those buildings at Howard.
Well, it's over now.
It's over now.
Right now. I'm gonna question the sanity of Notre Dame Federal Credit Union.
As a matter of fact, we just completed a presentation last week for Howard University for about 4 or 5 buildings on the campus of Howard University. We just completed that last week, so we're in the running, for that. But at one time, she oversaw all of the facilities and all of the development for Howard University. She worked directly for them.
Wow.
Now she's an alumni. Her parents are alumni from Howard University as well. Her sister, so they got a strong, steep, experience with Howard University.
You think they're members of the credit union?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, James, come on, man. Look, you gotta tell Tom this. By the way, Tom that he's talking about is the president of Notre Dame Federal Credit Union, Gerard.
Yeah, CEO.
Okay. Okay.
He's the CEO. Yeah, he's the CEO. I
Well,
mean, dude.
listen, let me, there's a couple of things though, Pastor and Nate though. So when we do this meeting with Daryl, I definitely would advise to make sure that you guys share with her that you have watched that video. You understand, like you said, she is Project Impact, because she is trying to impact, various projects throughout the area so that, they can be fair to everybody, not just a few, but to everybody.
Yeah, and I told you that because that's exactly what I plan on doing. And I got a few other questions to ask her about some people I guarantee she knows that I know, but I digress. I don't want to get off into that.
Yeah,
right?
her Rolodex, man, we would be very, very surprised at the reach of her Rolodex, man.
Mm-hmm.
We would be tremendously surprised. So.
Well,
believe that.
A couple of the people in South Bend that are influential, one of the ladies that's on the council, and my sister Gladys Muhammad. When I had Gladys looking at just a little bit of one of those videos, and she said, "Well, we've had to get her to come and speak at the Martin Luther King celebration."
There you go.
Get her on the calendar.
And listen, and think about it, Pastor. Now and then of course, the monument to him in Washington, D.C., we did that. We did the full thing on that, the architecture, the design, and the overseeing of the building of that too.
Yeah, I saw that.
So
that was the first thing. We got to get her. She said we got to get her to come to South Bend to do our Martin. She said we'll change our whole Martin Luther King thing to economics. And entrepreneurship, economics and entrepreneurship.
So Nate, let's we have to align the calendar so that we can with both James and with Pastor Hardy, so that we can make sure that everybody is available that day, that so we can come and we can spend that day down there and just kind of like do what we need to do to kind of like start laying these frameworks, and then I'll be responsible for. As after we've done that, then the next step is going to be I'm going to bring her before this group, on a quick Zoom call, a Teams call like we're doing now, just so that we can talk dialogue about certain things. I would love to be able to have that connection, Pastor, that you got with the provost, one of the provosts over there at Notre Dame.
Sure.
Because I'm in my mind, and what I'm trying to do is to get something in somebody or some entity there that's very impactful, and I can't think of any other entity there that's as impactful as Notre Dame University.
No.
Well,
there'll be
that, Gerard, that Pastor Blake and James are just not really talking about, but the impactful person is Gladys Muhammad.
Okay, then.
Muhammad, powerful.
And the one provost that
we would need her on that call with us then.
Yeah, we can get her on that call.
Yeah, don't let it just be all of us men.
Yep.
Let's put her on there too.
Her and Karen White, another one that's on the. She's the president for the Common Council here, the City Common Council. It's Karen White, and I met with both of them yesterday and talked about us wanting to get together. And one of the persons out at Notre Dame that would probably be most that Tim Sexton and Tim and Gladys are, he almost anything Gladys asks for, Tim's going to bring it to her.
Well, this would be a great meeting. Yeah. If we can get those, this would be a great meeting. We can just term it as a meet and greet, and our prelude into economic development for South Bend. Mm-hmm. And I guarantee you everybody will jump on board. And that's kind of the way that we have to do it. And then once you've done it there, you take that show on the road, you do the same thing in Gary, so on and so on, Griffith or whatever. You just take that show on the road. Now, that being said, those same minority businesses that's there in the South Bend area can travel a few miles up the road there to do the same thing in another city. And continue to be self-sustaining.
Right. Say,
Have you
we can
now?
do this next
Have you,
week. I mean, this week, if you want to come this week, I mean, I'm available this week.
So I'd already told Nate that I'm already starting rearranging a few things now so that I can make myself available for Saturday.
For Saturday,
To come there Saturday.
that'll
So
work
you
for
oh,
know.
you
me.
coming? I thought you said Friday.
Well, Friday was what I was originally thinking. I'm still trying to arrange a couple of things right now,
Okay.
because initially Friday I was going to come down and just spend the night, and then we do our tour and everything on Saturday. But yes, but I'm thinking maybe we would do it early Saturday morning, Nate.
Yeah, that'll work for me. James?
James,
Well, no,
Yeah.
I'm in class all Saturday.
well, see,
Okay.
that's what I'm saying. So let's is there
No, but you don't need me. I'll play
I
catch
think
up.
we need you, James.
We need him. We need him. I mean,
I'll
he
play
got
catch up. You
Friday.
come Saturday, get the tour. We'll compare notes.
Okay.
okay?
I'm gonna just check my calendar here too, though, real quick here too, though, so and we can
Friday is fine too.
So this Saturday is the 27th. The next Saturday is the 3rd.
No, I'm in a program studying to become a deacon, and so
Okay.
every Saturday is done for me until the
Understood.
next year.
So then what if I shift mine to Friday then?
Great.
Yeah,
If
you
I
can do
shift
Friday.
it to a Friday
Oh,
and
I'll make
just
sure I'm
just
available.
come down there early that morning on Friday
Yes.
and spend that day, and then we do it that way.
I want
Yeah.
you to also. I also want you to come to Gary to meet Chuck Hughes.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh no, we're gonna definitely do that. But I
Yeah,
want
so
to get
Friday
this
would
one.
work for me. Jim, you can do Friday?
I can do Friday.
I can do Friday. I can tell you that right now. I'm gonna tell them immediately that I won't be there Friday.
Yeah, you can make
So-
that Friday, Jared. We can.
So let me here's what I'm gonna do. Nate, I need until tomorrow. I gotta switch a couple of things around. And we're talking about this Friday, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
right.
yeah.
Okay. So give me till tomorrow. Because I already had an event on Friday, but it's not an event where I don't necessarily have to be there. I can put a proxy in place. So if I can do that, then then yeah, I would say early that morning.
Okay.
And I got to check, of course, with the wife to see what's on her calendar too as well. But that's most important. And then but right now, tentatively, I got you on the 26th though.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, early
Yeah.
that morning. I'll probably scoop you, Nate, and then we keep on rolling.
That
All
sounds good.
All right.
That sounds good. We can do that. And
All right, gentlemen. So Nate, you and I touch base between today and tomorrow, okay?
all right.
Yes,
And then we'll let everybody know by tomorrow for sure.
that sounds
Great.
awesome.
All right, guys.
Wonderful.
Thanks again. This has been a great conversation. I really appreciate it.
Praise
Excellent.
the Lord.
Thank you all
Thank you.
very much.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
All right.
All right, James, you got it all on recorded?
Yep, I'll get copies of it out to all of you tomorrow morning. I got to run because I got to get some stuff set up, and then we got the board meeting that's about to start, right?
Yeah, send me that link if you can.
Look, check your text. You should have it.
Oh, my text?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Not my email.
Hold on a minute, Nick. Okay. Okay, hold on.
All right, yep, I got it.
You got it? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Take care.
All right, you too.
Bye.
Bye.